Folks, we're back. This is Steve Sanchez, Jim Jonas of Veterans in Politics. We have a very exciting guest today. His name is Stavros Anthony. He used to be a captain in the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department for about 30 years almost. Yeah, 30 years. And he was a university board regent. And so, yes, you could call him Dr. Anthony. He has his PhD as well. He used to be Las Vegas City Councilman, and that he first won by, I think, 10 or 11 votes.
I remember that election.
But he did win. A win is a win. And he was mayor pro temp, not once, but twice for the city of Las Vegas. And now he's blessed us by being Nevada's lieutenant governor. So congratulations to him. But before we get to our guests, the show is sponsored by Ron Quince. Ron Quince, Quince. Jim, you have any rants?
Not really a rant. I guess it is a rant, actually. So I brought it up in August, I brought it up in September, and I brought it up in October, and now exactly what I predicted is happening right now. Still, the federal government cannot figure out how to pass a budget on time. So now, of course, the Fed has to do some emergency finagling to make sure that the federal government doesn't default on its loans. And, of course, as usual, they're going to ask Congress to raise the debt ceiling again. They do this. It's just like an annual tradition. I have no idea when we, as the voting public, will grow up and start voting for Congress people, because it's mainly the House that's responsible for this, House of Representatives, and start voting for people that know how to pass a budget on time and actually pass a balanced budget. Okay. I know it's not the easiest thing to do, but hell, at least pass the budget on time.
Jim, what's your phone number?
My phone number?
Your cell number.
702-517-8975.
The first person that calls Jim gets this Motorola phone. It's still sealed. The seal hasn't been broken. So just to let you know, call Jim Jonas. You want to get your phone number again?
702-517-8975.
Gets that Motorola phone. Go ahead, Jim. Go ahead, Jim. Take the phone. So let's get to our guests. Lieutenant Governor Anthony, congratulations to you, sir.
Well, thank you. Thanks for that introduction, Steve. That was very nice. And
did I cover everything?
A lot.
Oh, what did I miss?
Let's see. What did you miss?
You were captain of Metro.
I did 29 years.
Yeah.
Rose to the rank of captain. You covered that. I was did
University regent.
2 terms on the board of regents.
Did you make chair?
I was 6 months into my first term. I was selected as chair.
Oh, wow.
Did 2 years, which was the maximum.
You got your doctorate?
Yes, I have my bachelor's, my master's, and I do have my doctorate from UNLV.
Smart.
Yep.
And you were city councilman?
Yep, you mentioned that.
3 terms, termed out?
3 terms on the city council, 13 years.
Mayor pro tem twice?
Mayor pro tem twice. You covered that. You
were a candidate for mayor too? Well, no, were you? Yes, you were.
I did run for mayor,
yes,
that didn't work out.
Yes.
I ran for the Clark County Commission.
Yes.
And they stole that election from me.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm a graduate of the Southern Police Leadership Institute and the FBI National Academy. So,
So you're not just good looks.
I don't know if I would encourage people to think of that, and I'm 20 handicap on the golf course, which is not very good.
Well, I don't golf. You know why I don't golf? You know how many people say, hey, let's go golf or let's do the drive range? And I'm like, I might fall in love with it, and there goes my money. So I don't want to do it. So I just figure I'd stay away from it.
I think you covered the introduction, and I'm honored to be Nevada's next lieutenant governor, and I appreciate the support and the endorsement of Veterans in Politics to help me get there.
Thank you.
Yep.
You know, what Jim was saying, you probably one of the most respected politicians in the state that Veterans in Politics respect, because we don't respect a lot of politicians.
Right.
But if we respect a politician, you know that you have excelled far beyond.
Well, I appreciate that confidence and that respect. Thank you.
So tell us about yourself besides the politics.
Well,
a little bit about your family, maybe.
I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, it all started, 65 years ago. My mom and dad immigrated from the island of Cyprus, came to the United States. My dad was a sheep herder, didn't have any skills. My mom didn't have any education.
Right.
They came here separately, then they met and married. My dad started out as kind of a short order cook. Mm-hmm. And I was born, my two sisters were born.
What was his specialty?
He's just a short order, he was just a cook, okay. Just a short order cook. Ended up many years later becoming the executive chef for the Grosse Pointe Yacht Club in Detroit, which is one of the most exclusive yacht clubs. So so it's the great American dream. He raised 3 kids. When I started kindergarten, I didn't speak English, I only spoke Greek.
Okay. Do you know some?
It's.
Let's hear a little bit. Come on. Come on.
I know a lot of swear words, and I can't say those online.
I know because you're a respected politician.
So is that where you get your cooking skills from? I thought I saw something on Facebook. You always at the what's that festival?
The Greek Food Festival.
Greek
yes,
Food Festival,
I am there cooking lamb chops. We did saganagi last year, which is a flaming cheese. Lukaniko, which is a Greek sausage. So I do a lot of cooking. So I mean, watch my dad. He was, like I said, he was the executive chef. I was a busboy at the Grosse Pointe Yacht Club.
Oh wow!
When I was a teenager, so I watched him, and So
how come you didn't go into the family business?
Into cooking?
Yeah.
No, my dad wouldn't let me.
Oh, really?
No, he wanted me to be an attorney. And I told him I wanted to do something else. So I ended up, I went to Wayne State University to be an optometrist. I was in pre-optometry for 2 years. But I just wasn't cutting the organic chemistry and the calculus. It just wasn't interesting to me. So and I needed a second part-time job because I was putting my way through school.
Right.
And they were the police department was hiring police cadets. Okay. So, which was somebody in a uniform, no weapons, you just walk around.
Like auxiliary.
So I hired on and I did a couple of ride-alongs. I said, this is what I want to do. So I switched to criminal justice and got my criminal justice degree and started applying in Las Vegas.
So is that why you became a cop?
Yeah. I just fell in love with the occupation. I love watching what police officers did, and I got the bug. And first place I wanted to leave Detroit. I didn't want to stay there. Plus, it was a bad auto recession in 1980. Okay. So Las Vegas Metro happened to be hiring. It was just kind of I threw the dice and applied. And
what year?
1980.
80.
Yep. And 2 weeks later, they called and said the academy starts in 3 weeks. If you want the job, come on out. And I came out, and the rest is history.
So tell us about being a police officer. How was that for you?
I loved it. I mean, I was 20, started out, I was 25 years old. I had a badge and a gun. I was throwing bad guys in jail.
You were living a life.
I was having a great time.
Bachelor too, weren't you?
Were
you a bachelor at that time?
Actually, I went back to Detroit a year later, and I got married, and then
But you were a bachelor for about a year.
About a year, cop. Yes, I was.
In Vegas.
Yes, and those stories.
You probably was a bad boy, huh?
Those stories will never come to light.
Hey, real quick, I was going to ask you: do you know a John Carpenter? Because he was with Metro for a number of years.
That name sounds very familiar.
Yeah, I believe he was a captain as well. He goes to our church.
Okay.
Yeah, he watches the show, so he's probably watching.
Okay, I remember the name. I just can't picture his face, but I remember his name. Yeah.
So, what was the most memorable event that took place while you were a police officer?
Probably the most vivid was getting shot at. I was in a police car with my partner. He was I was the driver. He was the passenger.
Right.
And we're stopped at a stop sign. It was over in West Las Vegas, like D and Jackson, something like that. And we're stopped there. It was like 10 o'clock at night. and we heard a pop bing, and we looked at each other. Go, son of a bitch, let's get out of here. So I floored it. We got the heck out of there.
Somebody was just shooting tops randomly?
We ended up coming back to the scene once we got more officers there, and we ended up discovering in an apartment complex about, 80 yards away, second floor, there was a rifle. We found the rifle, and what happened was he had shot the rifle. It went right over my head.
Oh, wow.
Over the top of the car and hit a stop sign. So it was pop and then bing on the stop sign. And we never found him, never determined who it was.
No prints on the rifle?
We couldn't find any prints. We never determined why he was shooting at us. Was it random? Was it us?
What year was this?
This was probably 82, 83.
Oh, you can't get away with that crap now. Everybody got cameras.
No.
Everybody got cameras. You'd be like, I want every single camera in a 5-mile area.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to catch that guy.
That's probably the most vivid, but, there's others of, dead bodies that were around for 3 days in an unair-conditioned apartment.
Did you witness any being dumped in Lake Mead?
No, I didn't have anything like that.
So you were a police officer while the mob was.
It was kind of the tail. It was the tail end of the mob.
Tailing down a little
yes,
bit.
it was. It was 1980 was kind of the tail end of it. So I was not involved in. Plus, I was a young cop. There were the seasoned detectives that were involved in things like that. So by the time I got out of patrol 5 years later, the mob was pretty much done. That was pretty much over with.
I mean, that's what they say.
Yeah,
yes.
Well, it turned corporate is what they call
turned
it.
corporate.
Wasn't around 82 when supposedly the mob put that hit out on Harry Reid? It was right around
that could be, yeah.
And I don't know why I just thought that randomly.
Well,
That's another conversation.
Oh, right, yeah.
So you rose up to the rank as captain.
So I spent 10 years as a police officer.
What departments did you go through?
So as a police officer, I was in patrol. Right. I was a field training officer, and I was in service training. So primarily training. I was a sergeant for 5 years. I was a patrol sergeant for a year, and then I went back to in-service training. And then I was a lieutenant for 4 years. I was a patrol lieutenant. I was in charge of the strip, and then I went to the police academy. I was responsible for the police academy, and then my last 10 years I was a captain. So as a captain, I was the bureau commander for the Transportation Safety Bureau, which are the motorcycle cops in the airport. I was the commander of Northeast Area Command, about 250 officers. I had internal affairs for 1 year.
You did IA?
I did, yeah.
Was that fun?
It was interesting, internal affairs. What was interesting about it is most of the time we were gathering facts to clear officers of bogus complaints. Right. That was probably 80%. Yeah. But there were other investigations that we did that ended up with officers being terminated. So, but a year was enough for that.
And the body cameras work good now, don't you think?
We didn't have body cameras back then.
I mean, before you left, were there body cameras?
Body cameras, I don't believe, came to Metro until after I retired.
Okay.
So, and then the last 2 years, I was the commander of the Financial Crimes Bureau, which did all the white-collar crime. Back then, the biggest was identity theft and then the mortgage scandals that were going on. People applying for multiple mortgages under different names. So we did a lot of those. And then that 2009 came around. I ran for the Las Vegas City Council. I won, and then I retired. So I did 29 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you skipped the regent because you were regent before you were city council.
So yes, in between being on Metro, so it was probably year 2000, something like that. I decided I had my master's and PhD, so I had a lot of officers coming to me and asking me for help to get back into higher education. So the opportunity came up to run for the Board of Regents. They created a couple of new districts, and I happened to live in one of the new districts. And you understand open seats are a little bit better than running against an incumbent.
Always.
So I looked at it. There was no conflict between being a Board of Regents and being on captain with Metro. There was no pay involved.
They didn't pay you when you were on the board?
It was $80 a meeting, so there was basically no pay.
Right.
And we didn't meet on a regular basis. So if I needed to attend Board of Regents meetings, I took vacation time.
Oh boy.
So I ended up running. It was the first time I ran for office, and just got friends of mine together and ran, and I won. So I did 4 years because it was a new district. It would only allow for 4 years instead of a 6-year term. I ran for my second time, won. Actually, I went unopposed and did 4 years of the 6-year term because I won the city council race. So that's when I moved on from both of those.
I want to go back to Metro a little bit. Have you ever filled any administrative position like under sheriff, assistant sheriff, or anything like that?
I was never appointed above the rank of captain.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because, when I look at you, I'm like, man, he'll make a good sheriff.
Yeah, Steve's always been wanting to be sheriff for a little while now.
This guy will make a good sheriff.
Every time you decide to run for something other than sheriff, Steve and I both, dang.
Yes, you have mentioned that several times.
Yeah, I think that's your calling, man.
I think I would. I think I would make a good sheriff, but you know what? 29 years of police work. It was time to move on and do something else, and we'll see what it holds in the future.
And when you were a regent, I've always seen you with George Assad, former Las Vegas judge.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I just saw him for the first time yesterday in years.
Oh, you saw?
Yeah.
He was at the governor's.
He was at table number, guess what? 1.
Oh, I didn't see him there.
And we bought our tickets like when the tickets first came out, and we were at table number 74, like the back of the bus. I'm like, what the hell happened here?
Yeah, George is a good man. He's a good friend of mine.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, he's a good guy. I'm sorry he lost, but hey, he lost to Heidi, and now she's a family court judge.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
After she lost.
Right.
He was you know why I like him just real quick so much? It's because he was the only person who ever ran that came in, and I said, should judges be elected or appointed? And he looked right at me and he goes, the election process is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. And I'm just going, now that's honesty.
Right.
I mean, that is complete honesty, and I really appreciated that about him.
Yeah. You didn't see him?
No.
That was your boy.
Well, there was, 3,000 people.
But that was your boy. You would have picked the phone. Hey, Stavros, I'm coming to the ball.
Oh, I know.
What
My brother was like, he goes, I have never, and he's worked at Red Rock for a while, and he goes, I've never seen that place that busy. He had to go all the way over and park in the corporate building parking lot in order to get to work.
Yeah.
So okay. You were in the region for what, 12?
7 years.
7 years?
Yeah.
Let me ask you something. Do you believe that one of the qualifications, which there's none, but one of the qualifications to be a university state regent, which is higher education, do you believe that whoever's running for that position should have that quality of higher education, maybe a bachelor's, before they run for that office?
Yeah, I think they should.
Instead of a high school dropout or a college dropout?
Yeah, they should make a few changes when it comes to the Board of Regents. First of all, there's 13 members. That's too many.
Yeah.
It should go back to 7 or 9, something like that. The 13, when I was on there, 13 was just tough to have a meeting with that many board members.
Odd number vote, though.
Yeah, it'd be like 7 or 9, something like that.
Okay.
And then I think we should take a look
11.
at, or even 11 I think is too much, my own personal opinion. But yeah, I think there should be some discussion about maybe having half of the Board of Regents elected, half appointed, having some qualifications where you have some understanding of higher education.
Like a bachelor's.
Correct. Yes.
Not even an AA, a bachelor's, 4 years.
Well, I mean, for example, when I was at Metro, one of the proposals I threw up the chain to the sheriff was that lieutenants should have a bachelor's degree before they can. At that point, they didn't. All they needed was high school or GED. So, and I proposed that at the minimum, lieutenants should have a bachelor's degree, and it ended up passing, and that's the rule today.
Okay.
So I think we should do some things like that.
But does it have to be a bachelor's degree in criminal justice?
No, just a bachelor's degree.
Oh, okay.
And I know you're an honorable person, Stavros Anthony. And I know being a lieutenant governor, you're also president of the state senate.
Correct.
How many bills do you carry?
I get 3 BDRs, bill
3.
draft requests.
So could you put one in to make qualifications for University Board of Regents?
So the previous lieutenant governor had submitted those 3 bill draft requests.
Mm-hmm.
There is one that involves a Secretary of State that streamlines the filing process for small businesses. So when a small business wants to open in a city or county, state, whatever, they can go, the bill allows them to go to the Secretary of State, find out all the licensing requirements they need, and file them all at the same time instead of going to the county, going to the city, going to the state.
That's
so
a good idea.
That's what I do now.
That's a good one. So
right.
I'm going to keep that one.
Okay.
The second bill draft request involves under the lieutenant governor's office. They created the small business advocacy department.
Oh.
So I have a director and an assistant, and the primary role of that job is you, Steve Sanson, want to open up a business, but you have no idea what the licensing requirements are, regulations. Are they federal? Are they state? Are they local? What it impacts me? So you can go to the Small Business Advocacy Department under the Lieutenant Governor's office, and they will help you navigate that entire process. So that's the first part of it. The second part is while we're doing that, the director can come to me and say, hey, there is this stupid regulation for this particular business area on a state level that we need to get rid of because it's really having a hard time. So that will be my job to try to get rid of those. So the second bill draft request is to make that a permanent office. For some reason, they made it where it would sunset this year in July. So my second bill draft request is to make it permanent and funded and making sure it's staying around and for a while. The third bill draft request involves, and this one I'm going to probably end up pulling, involves the Clark County School District, and it involves making the half of them elected and half of them appointed, just like I mentioned with the Board of Regents, but I don't want to get involved in that. That's somebody else can take that on. So I have
sounds like a lot of work.
What's that?
That sounds like a lot of work.
It is.
You're going to get a lot of pushback.
And I don't have a dog in that fight, so I'll let somebody else get involved in that. So what I need to find out now is how I can handle that bill draft request. So I need to meet with the Legislative Counsel Bureau to find out what happens to that bill draft request. Do I pull it? Can I use it for something else? Those sorts of things.
So would you put in one to change the qualifications for University Regents?
I don't want to get involved. That's other people can get involved in those. I have some other ideas that I need to bounce around first, but something like that again. You know what? Now that you mention it, I'll let it sit at the table and see what happens. So, not promising you anything, but we'll take a look at it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about city council. What positions? Because I know you sit on a lot of boards when you were a city councilman. What boards did you sit on when you were and while you were pro temp?
Yeah. So first of all, I represented Ward 4. I was elected by Ward 4 3 times. Ward 4 is basically the middle of the Northwest. So if you go to Charleston and Lake Mead, it's Ward 2. That's Victoria Seaman. Lake Mead, all the way up to 215 is Ward 4, and then north of 215 is Ward 6. So I represented Ward 4, which is Sun City, Summerlin, Painted Desert, Desert Shores, things like that.
Right.
I was the mayor pro tem, as you mentioned, twice, and then I was on the Fiscal Affairs Committee for Metro for the entire 13 years. I was on the Southern Nevada Health District Board for a couple of years. I was on the Southern Nevada Regional Transportation Commission for a couple of years. I was on the recommending committee for the city, which recommends ordinances to the full council for consideration. And there might be one or two others that I can't recall right now.
Do you remember that ribbon cutting behind you?
Yes, that was at Desert Shores. That's right. I forgot about it, but that picture refreshed my memory. Yeah.
You and Larry Burns. Well, no, sorry,
Larry Brown.
Larry Brown.
Yeah.
Jesus.
The only thing I ever
Rest in peace,
I
Larry Burns.
can't remember what exactly we were doing the ribbon cutting
That
for.
was when Heidi opened up the Faith Indian Family Council.
That's right.
Yeah. That's a nice building.
It is.
Yeah. Nice building.
So I know there's a lot of people that come and talk at these public meetings when you were a city council. What's the craziest, especially when it was open for public comments, what's the craziest thing that you sat, how many meetings you probably sat on?
A lot.
A lot. What's the craziest one you've heard of?
So probably the craziest one was, so as you know, we have quite a homeless problem in downtown Las Vegas. We've built a courtyard.
Right.
We've done a lot of things to try to help the homeless population, get counseling and jobs and helping them with their addiction. We've spent millions of dollars building a courtyard.
Excuse me.
But we finally got to a point where businesses, small businesses, casinos came to us and said, hey, we have homeless people that are just parked in front of my business, blocking the door. They're just sitting there. They're camped out, and it's destroying my business. We need to, you need to do something about that. So we ended up, and the mayor put this together. She put, and I supported it, an ordinance that said, basically, you can't just camp out on a public right of way, on a sidewalk, something like that. You can't do that. And the way the system was set up is, if you were camped out there, then we would have police officers and counselors. We created these what are called MORE teams. I can't remember what it stands for, but it's a police officer and a counselor, and they would go up to this person and say, all right, you have basically three options. Number one, we got a car here. We'll take you down to the courtyard. We'll get you some help. Number two, you got to go. You can't stay here. Or if you don't leave, we're going to arrest you. So we put this ordinance together, and we had our public hearing on it, and it was crazy. We had Marxist. No, it wasn't. It was Marxist revolutionaries, people showing up with signs. With Carolyn Goodman and a noose. I mean, it was terrible. These people went absolutely nuts because of this ordinance, saying that we're being inhumane, that we're trying to arrest homeless people. We're actually doing the opposite. We're giving them a chance to get some help instead of, and we're trying to help businesses. And you have to watch the video. It was the craziest thing. People were calling us names. I mean, and there's nothing to do but just sit there and let them have their 2 minutes, because it's a public hearing and the public has the right to. But they got a little out of control. I think a couple of them they had to have the marshals throw out because they were just being very, very disrespectful and almost crazy. So I'll never forget that. Never forget. They were actually saying they were talking like Marxists and socialists. I mean, it was really nuts. So
has any of those meetings you ever sat down and listened to somebody just really reamed into you, but you can't really comment, but you really want to go down there and pistol whip the crap out of them?
Okay. I'll just leave it at that. Okay. Move it right along.
So, Lieutenant Governor, what's your plan for this state? I know you're going to run for governor, right?
I just got elected lieutenant governor.
I just bumped him from sheriff to governor.
Yeah, right.
Oh, wow. Somebody just did that.
So the one thing people need to understand is the lieutenant governor has a very specific role, has very specific responsibilities. It's not like the governor where the governor can get involved in anything he wants to, pretty much. I have a very specific role. So first of all, tourism. So I will be involved. That's probably at the top of the list because I'm the chair of the Tourism Commission. Mm-hmm. So I'll be working with our tourism the state tourism
You approve the budget for commercials as well?
What's that?
Would you approve the budget for
You
commercials
know what?
as well?
I'm going up to Carson City next week to kind of get the lay of the land as far as what I can do. But I will be traveling all over the state of Nevada promoting tourism. You know, we have Reno has their own convention authority. Las Vegas has their visitor convention authority, and I'll be involved with both those organizations. But it'll probably be more rural tourism. You know, supporting the rural areas,
Winnemucca,
that are great tourist destinations. I mean, Ely's got some great places to see in that area.
What do they have over there?
Lots.
What?
It's,
Well, I was just there last week.
There's a lot to
Katrina,
see.
what do they got on Ely?
See, that's my job, is to educate you on
Tell
why you
me.
should. I eventually will.
What they have in Ely?
Give me some time on that. So, and Winnemucca.
What's in Winnemucca? We were there.
Elko. Next week is maybe not next week. Yeah, I think the end of next week is Cowboy Poetry. That's a big tourist destination. So I will be educating you, Steve, on the tourism destinations you should be going to all over the state of Nevada. So that's what I'll be doing.
How about just real quick? How about as far as are you? You're also involved with like international tourism too, correct?
Yes. So that will be that's going to be part of it. Is trying to attract people from all over, not just the United States, but all over the world to come to Nevada and enjoy tourism destinations in Nevada and spend their money and create jobs and help the economy and really help support these small businesses that are trying to thrive in the tourism industry. It's going to be my job to try to help grow those businesses.
So are you planning on getting all the mayors together and try to brainstorm?
You know, that's what I'll be working on with the tourism board and the director of tourism. Is what do we need to do? Do we need to bring the mayors together? Do we need to do this? Do we need to do that? That's what we need to brainstorm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. So tourism is one.
So that's probably top.
Just real
sure,
quick on tourism. Just one more quick thing. And this is one of the reasons why I'm really excited that you're the new lieutenant governor, because I think tourism is going to be a huge challenge for this state, because everybody's already talking about an eventual recession. We're already starting to see the housing market starting to get kind of shaky again. So it's going to be a challenge to try, because anytime somebody loses disposable income, trips are usually the first thing that gets cut out.
Yes, absolutely. That's a good comment.
So I'm really glad that you'll be there to kind of oversee that, because
thanks.
One of our other lieutenant governors years ago, I think he'd like to go abroad on business trips on our money. So. But I trust you.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that unless there's an economic value to the state of Nevada.
And maybe one of the things we should tell these nonprofits that are always having all these fundraisers and silent auctions and door prizes and all that, to probably raffle off trips within the state of Nevada, like 2 days, 3 nights in Reno, or stay at this hotel in Ely.
You and I are going to Ely one day. I'm going to show you around.
My parents spent the night in Tonopah, loved it.
Or encourage a lot of these, or Lake Tahoe, or encourage a lot of these staycations for locals.
That's a good idea.
I think a lot of locals will love that.
Yep, absolutely.
I'm just brainstorming.
No, that's what we're going to be doing. And if anybody watching this, this Facebook Live, if they have any suggestions about how I should be promoting tourism, I'd be glad to take those suggestions. I mean, I think I'm pretty well known for that. I like to listen to the public and listen to folks, and because I don't have all the ideas. There's some great people out there that have great ideas. So the second is I'm on the Nevada State Transportation Board. So we'll be making sure that we have a great transportation system in the state of Nevada.
What type of transportation are we talking?
It's mostly funding, roads, funding road systems.
Nothing to do with RTC, Regional Transportation Commission?
Well, they work together.
Okay.
So when I was on the Regional Transportation Commission, we had the director of NDOT at our meetings every single time, so we can dialogue. So a lot of it is the Nevada Department of Transportation going through the process on deciding what they believe are the best ways to spend transportation dollars, and then bringing it to the Transportation Commission, which I sit on, in order to for us to vote on how those monies are going to be spent.
Right.
So traveling around the state of Nevada, there's some roads in the rural areas that could definitely use some upkeep. You know, these are roads that are traveled a lot, and a lot of them are not that safe.
And
a lot of them
those 2-lane roads going to Ely it kind of remind me of Jamaica and the Philippines.
Right.
At 90 miles an hour,
Yes.
passing, no barriers, and just passing. And then, if you could get around this vehicle and you're coming up to it and you sneak around like that.
Right.
That's craziness.
And the best way to deal with those is the passing lanes. You've seen those where you have every once in a while. We need more of those passing lanes.
Yeah.
We need to make sure that our trucking industry is supported, making sure that we have great roads so our truckers can travel the state safely. We probably need more areas where truckers can pull over and sleep and use a restroom, because they can only drive a truck for a certain period of time. So those are the kind of things that we'll be dealing with on
especially on that I-80 stretch.
Yes.
That thing is heavily traveled.
Right.
Yeah.
So
HOV lanes. I know I don't know if when you were a city councilman, did you get rid of the time restrictions on HOV lanes or?
So HOV lanes are a real bug in my knot. I mean, I do not like them.
We're not the only one. There's quite a few people that.
So the history of the HOV lanes is they put HOV lanes in. They made them where they were only in the morning and then at night, like 3 hours in the morning, 3 hours at night. And then they ended up making them 24/7, which really
pissed me off.
Me too. So I brought it up several times at the RTC meeting, but the Regional Transportation Commission doesn't have any authority. It's a state that has authority. So
right.
now,
you are the state.
Now that I'm on the state board, I will be looking at eliminating HOV lanes. The interesting thing right now is half of them, most of them on I-15 have already been eliminated at this point because of the construction.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm going to try to make sure they don't come back, and I'm going to try to eliminate HOV lanes. I think the public is with me on this.
I'm with you.
They want to drive those lanes. And the interesting thing about HOV lanes, the reason why they're built is to socially engineer driving habits. You know, they want me to call you in the morning and say, hey, Steve, let's drive together because we're kind of going to the same area in order to use the carpool lane.
Yeah.
And then we'll do it on the way back. Well, I'm never going to do that. I want to drive my own car.
That's
I want to leave when I want. I don't want to
I
leave.
probably want to bring my dog with me.
Exactly. And I don't want to see you be in your car with your dog, even though it's a great
sports
dog.
car.
So nobody is doing that.
Right.
I'll bet you 5 people a day do that, maybe.
They've actually done studies on that. That, like, I think the last study said that 93% of people said they'd rather ride by themselves.
Absolutely. So
I'll be one of those.
So since that is not occurring, HOV lanes are a waste of time. And the other thing is, if you go, watch HOV lanes when you're driving next to them, it's mostly trucks that have 2 guys in them anyway, or it's maybe a mom with her 3 kids, and they're driving that anyway. They're not doing that to use the HOV lane. Right. And I'll tell you, 80% are single drivers because they just say, to heck with it. I'm getting in the HOV lane because I got to get to where I'm going. And I'm
I'll
probably
take a
not.
ticket.
Yeah, and I'm probably not going to get a ticket because it's really not being enforced. I mean, the state troopers don't have time to enforce HOV lanes. They got to go out there and
bigger fish to fry.
Yeah, they got to go after speeders and people that are causing accidents and stuff. So I'm gonna do whatever I can to get rid of them. Okay. Absolutely.
You want to be Nevada's hero?
I would love to do some great things.
You could also be California hero too.
Okay?
High-speed rail.
That's being discussed right now.
It's always been discussed ever since I came here.
I think the cost. the cost is the big deal right now. So
with all these multi-billionaires around here,
I would
just call Mark Wahlberg up.
Yes.
He just bought a house over by Red Rock.
Yeah. So I don't know if the high-speed rail is under the umbrella of the Nevada Department of
Transportation.
Yeah, I don't know.
It should be. I bet
We'll
you all
find
those
out.
casinos would
Yeah.
would love high-speed
Yeah.
rail here.
And the discussion now is, it used to be that would go from Victorville to Las Vegas. Well, now they've had an extension, so it would come from Southern California to Victorville, which makes a lot more sense. So I think we should have some discussions about high-speed rail. Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. So look, I'm giving him a whole bunch of ideas.
You are,
already.
absolutely, yeah.
So what else we got?
So, and as I mentioned, the Small Business Advocacy Department, I'll be
Okay.
running that, and hopefully it'll be permanent. So I'll be supporting small businesses any way I can. I'm on several other.
Well, speaking of small business, I know that SOS, Secretary of State, changed it that if you are a veteran-owned business, you don't have to pay these filing fees.
That's great.
So
That's a great
that,
idea.
That was a plus.
So
That
Yeah.
helped me when I was following all those nonprofits that we have, and I was ready to pay, and it was like, check out, and then you sign this thing saying under penalty of perjury that it's a veteran-owned organization. Yeah, so that was a good thing. I don't know who did that one, but whoever did that one, thank you very much.
and we'll try to do some more of those.
Okay.
So, and then I sit on some other boards and commissions like Workforce Development Board, Homeland Security Commission, GOED, which is involves economic development, diversifying the economy, trying to bring other businesses to the to Nevada. So I'll be sitting on that. I haven't gotten briefed on those commissions yet, so I will be very soon. And then you mentioned the President of the Senate is the final one. So starting in about 10 days, I'll be moving to Carson City, and I'll be up there for about 6 months during the entire legislative session, and I'll be running the Senate.
You moving your whole
sessions.
family?
No, just me.
No. So could you have a room for me so when I come up there, I don't have to pay for hotel?
Never.
Oh, shit.
I was going to ask you that. So do you go up there the 6th with everybody else?
I'll be going
or
up there a couple days before that to get settled in, and then the session starts the 6th. Yeah, I'll be up there with all the legislators for entire 6 months. So I'll come back on the weekends, or stay up there on the weekends depending on what's going on. But I'm gonna rent a house and stay up there most of the time, and then when the session's over, I'll come back to Las Vegas, and I'll be traveling all over the state from Las Vegas until the second session. Luckily, and I hope we never change it, the session is once every 2 years. I love that. I think it's good. And so 2 years from now, we'll do it again.
Okay. So what else?
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Specifically, that's pretty much it.
When we were talking about the RTC, you mentioned in the business, and then you mentioned something else, because I was going to ask you a question. I'm trying to jog my memory. You mentioned something else after the RTC and the business. What were you talking about?
Small Business Advocacy Department, Department of Transportation, Homeland Security.
That's it, Homeland Security.
Yeah.
Do you remember when President Bush Jr. Signed the Patriot Act about retired police officers could carry weapons anywhere in the continental United States without going to get CCW here, CCW there, CCW there? Do you have one of those?
Yes,
I think it was letter 218.
It's called HR 218.
Yeah.
So I do, cards in my wallet.
Okay.
I can carry my weapon anywhere in the country.
Okay, and it's not up to the discretion of a police chief or anything like that. It's just that's what it is. If you're retired and you're in good standings, you could do that.
Every year you reapply.
You want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, yeah, it's called an HR 218. What happens is that every year you fill out the paperwork showing you're retired. You go to the range, you get qualified, and then you get issued your HR 218 card. It expires a year later, and before it expires, you go fill out the paperwork, go to the range again, and you go to the local police department, which for me would be Metro, and you get your card, and you can carry your weapon anywhere in the United States. Now, there's
including Alaska and Hawaii.
Yes. Now you can't take it on a plane you can't use it to take it on a plane or anything like that. Where it says no firearms allowed, you have to respect that. But everything.
Criminals, if they got a gun illegally, they're not going to pay no attention to that side.
So The only area that involves HR 218 that I may take a look at fixing is, so if you get a CCW permit, you can go buy a firearm and buy as many firearms, and you don't have to pay the $25 and go get a background check.
Right.
You can just show your CCW and you can take it right then. If you don't have a CCW, then you have to go through the background check and you have to wait a couple of days depending on how long it takes, and then you go back and buy it. For some reason, the HR 218 is not the same as a CCW permit when it comes to purchasing weapons. So I want to take a look at changing that.
Okay.
So HR 218 is just like a CCW when it comes to purchasing weapons. I haven't looked into how that happens, how that changes, whether it's federal, state, but that's something that, every time I go by, and I have quite a few firearms.
How many?
A lot.
Ken
Double-
Wagner.
double
Remember
digits.
Ken Wagner? You remember Ken Wagner?
Yes.
Yes.
It's
He's got about 500.
It's double
weapons.
digits. It's not triple digits, but it's double
Yeah,
digits.
it's one of those things. Like I joked with Ken Wagner years ago, and I said, if I just hear this random explosion one day, I'll go, well, there went Ken's garage.
Right.
So,
Anyway, that's something that I may take a look at. Yeah.
So, Lieutenant Governor, and that's a good ring for you, by the way.
Thank you.
Could you explain the purpose of the HR 218 letter so people could understand why that came about?
Actually, I do not know the history of how that came about. I just know it came about, but I don't know what exactly the debate was involving that. I guess, the only thing I can surmise is they wanted more armed people out in our community.
That could respond a lot quicker.
Correct.
If officers are
Yes,
around.
and police officers, even though retired, they're still trained. They've been training for 30 plus years.
Some might have trembly
Yes.
hands, though.
Well,
Stay still.
Yeah.
Oh, that's me.
So that's probably the history, but I don't recall what the debate was.
Right.
I don't recall
It came out
listening
from
to
the
that.
Patriot Act when
Okay.
9/11 took place. They, I guess President Bush wanted to put more armed
That
security
makes
on the
sense.
street, quicker response. So that's how that came about. And the reason why I brought that up, because I have a few officers came to me and some wasn't getting their HR 218 letter, and
Right.
they were a little upset by it. I even got Randy Sutton involved.
I don't blame him.
You remember, Randy
I know,
Sutton, the
very good friend of mine,
blue wound, or what's it called?
Wounded
Blue. Wounded Blue.
Wounded Blue. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you part of that, or are you part of any of the police officers organizations out there that take care of officers?
I've supported Randy Sutton 100%. When he has his conferences, I always bring a proclamation and support him. So yeah, I try to support as many of those organizations.
You're
as
a good
I
guy, Stavros.
can. Oh, I appreciate that.
I can't say that enough.
I try to support veterans organizations too, because our veterans they served our country, and a lot of them put their lives on the line to protect this country and to protect my rights. And police officers are doing the same thing every single day. They're going out there and putting their lives on the line to protect. So we need to pay special attention to their needs and make sure we support them.
Well, I'm glad you brought up veterans. Do you have any special plans for them? Being a lieutenant governor, do you have anything that you would do differently or add?
Well, that's going to be that will be at the top of my list when I'm going through the process of doing what a lieutenant governor does, and I'm going to learn more and more of that as I go through. I'm going to always be thinking about, well, when I'm doing this, how can I support veterans? When I'm doing this, how can I support police officers? When I'm up in the during the legislative session and I'm president of the Senate, I'm always going to be thinking about those two things. So those are always at the top of my list. And obviously, I need to rely on you and your organization and other veterans organizations to call me and say, hey, this is an issue involving veterans. We want to talk to you to see if you can do anything as lieutenant governor, or if you can help us influence whoever is responsible for helping us out here, whether it could be some other departments in the state, or county or local. And if I can go to bat for you, absolutely, I'll do that.
You know I'm going to keep that in mind. Right?
Yeah, I want you. I'm putting it out there right now to any veteran organization. Absolutely.
I was going to say, you know, you might as well just have a direct line.
Put me on speed dial.
That's what. But honestly, and again, like I can't say it enough how much respect I have for you. But one of the reasons why I say that, and like I'm kind of joking but not joking about that, is because anytime, and it's not just Steve, anytime I've had just an odd question about what's going on in the city, I call you up and you just explain it to me, and then you go, you need to handle it like this, this, and this, and if your ward doesn't take care of it, have them call me.
Absolutely.
And I'll
like a telephone pole, or something like
right.
that.
I remember.
Yes.
A little thing like that.
Absolutely. Yep.
So, Lieutenant Governor Anthony, did we cover anything? There's something that you want to cover that we haven't covered?
I think you did a great job. Great questions, and I think we covered a lot. And like I said, a lot of it's going to be, I got lots of briefings coming up on all these commissions and committees I sit on. I'm going up to Carson City for 3 days. I'm going up Monday for the State of the State address. I'll be attending that.
You're going to be in Reno, or is it Washoe, for the Lincoln Day on the 25th next month?
I'm taking a look at all the Lincoln Day dinners.
Because I'm going to be at that one.
Which one are you going to?
The one on the 25th of February. In Washoe, I think it is.
I haven't gotten a list of them all yet, but I'm going to try to. I'll be up there, so any Lincoln Day dinners in the north, absolutely, I'm going to try to go. It just depends on what day they are, or is the session, my schedule and all that. But yeah, I'm going to try to attend all those. So as I learn more, I'll be glad to come back on the show sometime in the future and talk about the things that I learned and some of the other topics. So I think you've covered it.
And I plan to be up at Carson City several times this session, because we have a few bills that's going to hopefully make it out of committee up there. So
Great.
Let's see what happens.
Okay, we'll have a cocktail together.
I'll take one of these.
Okay.
Yeah, you can have a cocktail. I'll be your DD.
Sounds good.
All right, that way keep you out of trouble. We want Carson City Sheriff to roll up on you.
That's right.
I'll take care of you, Stavros.
You're a good man.
Jimmy, anything else for Lieutenant Governor?
No, other than just it was a privilege. Thank you for coming on. Like I said, with that transportation, transportation and also
Visitors Authority
and tourism is going to be a real challenge with some of the funding things that we might run into, some funding walls we might run into. So I'm just glad to have you as the Lieutenant Governor, and I know how thorough you are and understand. Obviously, very smart. So, but just best of luck up there. And
appreciate it.
And remember, everything happens for a reason, right?
It does.
So your losses were actually a win, because look at you now, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's I agree with you totally on that.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So Mark is going to zoom in on you, and you have the final word. You could say, whatever, or your point of contact, or come visit me, or send me a postcard, or whatever you want to say.
Well, and again, thanks for having me. My name's Stavros Anthony. I'm honored to be the next Nevada Lieutenant Governor, and I would give you my office number, but I can't remember it because we we just moved into the office a couple days ago. But just look up the Lieutenant Governor's office on the internet, and we have a website. And please contact me and my office anytime we can help you with any of the responsibilities that I currently have, but really anything we can help the state of Nevada with and our residents in the state, I'd be glad to do it. So thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Stavros Anthony. Thanks, Jim. Folks, that's Stavros Anthony, our current Nevada Lieutenant Governor. This is a good man right here. And I don't really say that to a lot of people, but this is a good man. And if he says he's going to do something, he'll get it done. This is Steve Sampson, Jim Jones for Veterans in Politics. Until next time.